that they have been quite an integral part of this organization. We have really, grown, some of us, under their leadership, in fact. And I have no doubt that they will hear the words, "Well done, good and faithful servant," for all the work and mission accomplished that you had come to do here. And thank you again. And this is from the bottom of everyone's heart that is around the room today. We now move on to a whole new thing that God is doing in the SA Shores. And I'd like to hand over to Jess. And what I know about Jess is that for somebody like me who is not as administrative and not as organized, I need her by my side, apparently. She is the answered prayer to all such people. So over to you, Jess, as you introduce the national team and tell us more about what the vision looks like going forward.
Thank you, Nomfundo, and good evening, everybody. I first want to say I feel so honored to be a part of this movement and to have been asked to be the national coordinator. I told Jeff yesterday, I have very big shoes to fill in, and then he confirmed just how big they are. So I am struggling to find my way in those shoes, but Nomfundo, Lance, Sean, and everybody else all over the country, and Elspeth, I'm sure you guys are going to be working with me so that I don't feel alone. Those of you who know me know that I hate doing anything alone. So I'm really, really glad that we've got a team of people. And Nomfundo, admin is also one of my weaknesses. So we'll help each other, okay?
Okay.
I'm all for the field work, but yeah. So I'm just going to talk with you a little bit tonight, just very briefly, about the vision and about my vision. I'm going to share with you from my heart, and it may not be, the full text script, but I would like to just tell you all where I'm coming from and why I'm doing this. And I'm going to give you the précis version of everything, and I'd love to have individual conversations with as many of you as possible. So if you want to know more, or if you want to get involved more, please feel free to contact me and we can talk. Okay. So just a little bit about me. I live in Johannesburg. I have one husband and I've got 2 children. And yeah, one husband is more than enough. I have our children at not teenager level. They're starting with, one is finishing university and one is starting university. So on a personal level, we're in a different stage of life. And the fact that we do not have to do school trips every day is amazing for us. We feel the same way we did when we didn't have to buy diapers anymore or milk formula. So we're enjoying this feeling right now. Although our petrol bill is going to go up because our children can drive now. I also, on the professional front, I am a businesswoman. I have a little consulting company, and I service a whole lot of clients all over Africa. One of the great things about that is I get to mix with people, mainly from different countries in Africa, but also people all over the world. And I love meeting with and interacting with different people. So it feeds my passion for people. Something also was that many, many years ago when I finished university, I was for a little while on full-time staff with Campus Crusade. And sometimes I think that just ruined me for the rest of the world. Sometimes I think, okay, it helped me. But whether I want to or not, the things that I learned through Campus Crusade in my student years, and even when I was on staff, they stuck with me and they stay with me. And just to tell you a little bit about where I'm coming from in the business world, I am in IT, and I've worked for a few corporate companies and one of the biggest IT companies in the country. And I was quite successful, but I was really not happy there. Some people would have seen that as me not being able to follow leadership and obeying the rules. But, and this is where the Campus Crusade part and being a full-time Christian worker and having to live out the Christian principles every day instead of only in the weekends or at cell group meetings or Bible studies. This is where it got to me. I was told that there's business and there's right or wrong. The two don't necessarily have to be the same. And then I was also told once that I think they thought that my place in heaven was secured, but in the business world, they're not so sure. And it may have been, you know, a sarcastic comment that was said in passing, but those things really stuck to me and they hurt big. And that's what started the deep desire for something different. And it bugged me that there were things that were not right, but I was not allowed to do, I was not always allowed to do what was right at work because it wasn't how they did things. So eventually, after a lot of prayer and thinking about it and discussing it with my husband, I left. And I felt that I needed to be in an organization that belonged to God. Not Campus Crusade for Christ again, because I wasn't going back into full-time ministry. I felt I had a lot to offer in business to the economy of this country. And so I started my own consulting company. And something that bugged me when I was leaving was, I knew there were other Christian people in this big company, but there was nobody I could talk to. I knew that some of the people who I was interacting with were committed Christians. I could see their jewelry, from maybe things they had on their desks, yet nobody was willing to let on that they were Christians or that we had the same values and principles. And that really bugged me. And at that time, even at church, when you spoke about things like this at church, they didn't really understand, that's how I felt, they didn't understand the issues that we faced at work. So I wanted to be a part of something like what we had when we were students, where you could be students and have all the fun you wanted on campus, but be able to have maybe something like a support group, not a Bible study group, because we have that in church. We have that through church, but some kind of safe place for Christians to come together. And then, you know, God has his own time. So nothing happened immediately. And it's not been easy being a business owner that was started when the recession hit in 2008. But God gave us staying power. And that vision that he put in me then, from not having company, people to share my deep heart concerns with, it was, you know, then vision boards were not a thing at that time. And I hear that's one of the latest buzzwords these days. But it was a vision that God put in my heart even then. And so many years later, I can see the hand of God in it. And Nomfundo, you said something about this earlier. You know, we don't always understand. We don't get the full picture. We only know what God wants us to do now. And we don't understand what he's doing at the time. And sometimes it really doesn't make sense. And nobody around us understands. And so I tell you tonight, this that is happening now is part of a vision that God put in my heart all those many years ago. And I am so blessed and I am so excited about being a part of the teams all over the country. I just want to quickly read to you the Leader Impact Vision Statement. I know most of you know it, But just to help, just a reminder, the statement says, to see a sustainable movement of multiplying disciples amongst leaders impacting society, so that every workplace leader in South Africa knows somebody who truly follows Jesus. So this doesn't mean that we've got to be Bible thumping fundamentalists in the workplace, but it means we have the support and the structure to be able to live out the principles that God has put into our hearts, the things that we learn in church, the things that we know we should do, to be able to do that in the workplace, to be able to speak with other like-minded people. And this also means that we can talk to people not only at the same position level, organizational level at us, but other leaders who are growing in the marketplace. So I'm excited to be working with all of you. I'm excited to be building groups all over the country. And we hear about the group in Cape Town, and there's a group, a city team that's going to be starting in Durban soon. And the Joburg team is going to have a whole lot of new faces. So this year is going to be full of exciting things happening. I think of the term thrive, and I was reading up about it. To thrive means to grow. You know, that little seedling, that little seed has to struggle to get up through the sand until it sees the top of the soil. And then after that, with all that is available around, all the support of the sun, the rain, the gardener who tends to it, this plant is able to thrive. So this year, and however long God allows us to be together, to work together, I just know that the vision He's placed in my heart is going to come to reality. We are going to thrive. I know it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, and I've learned that in my own experience, but I'm excited. I'm really excited about what we're going to be able to do together this year. So I hope to have good conversations with all of you. Thank you, Nomfundo. Sorry that I went over time.
Sorry, no, and apologies for interrupting you. You went on a decrescendo, and I thought it is the end. Apologies for that. Jess, I really love the sincerity in your story, and we truly look forward to you driving the ship. And please be assured, we are behind you 106%, and 6 is not for level 6 load shedding, Jess. Our next speaker then, ladies and gentlemen, is, please forgive me in advance on how I'm going to pronounce your name, Mr. Coetzee. Jan23, I believe. He's from Telkom, and he's really made great strides in the corporate world as a data office ahead of Telkom. He's also a pastor and staying true to the pillars of leader impact when it comes to foundations, which is your personal, professional, spiritual life balance. So Jean, please shed some light with us on your vision then for 2023.
Thanks, Nomfundo. So first of all, well done on the name. I think that's the one thing that people always get wrong. So that was perfect. So we can at least celebrate that for this year. Yeah, so I think for me, there's a couple of things, and I think it's more, let's say, personal calling that's starting to overflow in terms of the other things that I'm doing in my life as well. So I think the one thing is consistency. Between the things that I do as a pastor, the things we do in the community, as well as what we do at work. I've seen over the last couple of weeks since we started up this year again, there's quite a big need for people to find, and as was mentioned, sort of that safe zone for people to come together as believers. I think there's a big focus on that for this year. So I think for me personally, as well as for our group, we're hoping to grow that and extend that to the group, and also make it a place where people can come and unpack, whatever the gripes might be. I mean, it's in corporate world, as with everything else, there's always changes. There's a lot of worries. There's a lot of personal battles people are going through. So hopefully we can grow as a group And we having our first official session. We're kicking off, I think it's actually on Thursday this week. So we still have the Friday sessions, but our monthly meetings are on the last Thursday of every month. This one we just moved up by a week. So everybody's back from leave. I think for me, intentionality is quite important. I think when we do meet, to have intentional conversations around what really adds value, and not just to do it for the sake of doing it. I think because that also tends to be a habit. You know, we just meet for the sake of meeting. I think we have that privilege to truly make a difference in people's lives. And I've seen that over the last year. Last year when we closed off, as an example, amazing testimonies from the people that's part of that group, just to say what an impact it has had on their lives already. And for us, it felt like it wasn't really significant, but it seems to have had a massive, massive impact on the people that are joining in on those sessions. So hopefully that can grow. Hopefully we can expand into the rest of the Telkom group as well, getting a lot more people from BCX involved, from OpenServe involved, as well as some of our Gyro colleagues. But that's the plan. And hopefully growing in depth rather than width. So it's good to have large groups, but hopefully we can set up some new spiritual leaders as well to carry on, as I'm lucky enough to have a strong group around me at work as well as my personal life. So I think that's really cool. Right. And yeah, for us, it's a year of freedom, right? So celebrating the freedom that we've been given and making use of the things that's holding us back.
Sure. So Jacques, from what I hear, this would be the first time that the group is established, or you have had one before in your workplace?
Yeah, so we've had one now. Sure. It's probably 7 months now since we initially started with the planning and started putting the groups together, and we had these conversations with Jeff. So we are maturing, I must say. We even had a previous one that Stefan was heading up. But I think we're getting back into the swing of things. We've now had this cadence every month for the last 4 months, and it's working really well, and it's growing. And obviously there's new phases every time. Some people coming, some people staying away. I think some people feel like they're oversharing and then they're just scared to show their face again. So we need to just sort that out. But it is maturing, and I mean, it's within 6 months from now, we'll already be a year old. So really looking forward to where that's leading us. So still relatively new, infancy stages, but getting there. The session we have on Thursday is just our first one for this year, though. All
right. Absolutely great. For somebody in the group, or rather in the meeting, who is having the same thoughts, having the same vision, a quick 2 advices that you can give them in terms of what they should, how they should navigate starting a group. Just a quick 2 bullets.
Don't overthink it, and just start small. Even if it's 2 or 3 people, it's more than enough.
Awesome. So don't overthink it and start small. All right, less is more. Now let's take just a short breather and let's sit back and relax as we take a look at a venture promo video, after which Daniela will go right into her testimony. I do hope she is on the group and has joined us already. We may go to the video, please.
What does it take for a leader to make an impact? Impact starts when we engage with others. And this 6-part series is all about intentional relationships. Together, we're going to re-examine how we've chosen to live our lives, how to have meaningful conversations with those who don't yet know Jesus. We'll discover our life story and how to share it with others, and ultimately, how to share the gospel in a clear and effective way. We believe that God has placed you where you are for a reason, and that He has intentionally put specific people in your life. God has made you a leader. Let's do this. Welcome to your new venture.
Right. Daniela, would you like to just tell us a bit about the venture group that you joined? Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah,
thank you. I'm Daniela Leroux. I was invited by Jan23. Basically, we've been working on discipleship, and he told us about this leader impact group, which I thought would be a great thing for me. I've got my own business, but not just that, I do work with the CPF, which is the Community Policing Forum. And we deal a lot with people in trauma cases. And I was thinking of how to make a impact in somebody else's life, not just by assisting them, but showing them the right way without forcing it on them. And so I joined the group and was quite surprised. I learned a lot about myself, especially about my story and how to bring that over to people. And just seeing in myself how much I've grown, and being in the leadership group and being able to talk to other people about their stories and to see where I fit in with my life. And that helped me quite a lot.
All right. I like the fact that you said it ended up contributing to you, actually, that you know, got quite a lot of help from it. Do you want to maybe just share one way that it did in detail?
Well, basically, I find it difficult to share my story. It was quite hard for me to talk about myself in a way that I open up myself to other people. And it taught me quite a lot to how to share with and get in touch with my own feelings about how my life went, and to actually bring that out to somebody else, to be able to connect with them with the stuff, with my trauma in my life that I've dealt with, and to connect with them and to be able to assist them to deal with theirs.
All right. And is there anything else you want to venture into with Venture? What do you plan to do with what you've learned?
Yeah, I've actually, this year is a year for me to open up. In my own business, I've got a bit of extra time that I thought, you know, I want to open up myself in different ways and actually venture out to see where I'm going to take this. So I don't know where yet, but I trust the Lord will show me the right way where He wants me to be. All
right. Daniela, thank you so much for sharing, and all the best as you move forward.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now move on to the next speaker, and his name is Lance van Wyk. And I have to mention the following thing about the next speaker, Lance. He is a true mentor by design. And I've had the privilege of tapping into that great wisdom that he has been blessed with. Lance, I did not return to you after the only session we've had because you've given me so much homework and I'm still navigating through it all. You know, Lance's passion for ally or leader impact ministers to a lot of us in this room, and he's definitely a man who's sold out to this vision. And Lance is about to share with us his experience around VUCA, a world group that he has started. And before you even move into it, we would like to know exactly what VUCA stands for, Lance. Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good, good. If you can switch your video on if possible.
I thought that it was on. Is it,
okay,
is it not sharing? Is it on?
Yes, it is.
Okay, fantastic, fantastic. So thank you, and thanks for having me on your show, Nomfundo. So this stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So really, it's dealing with fourth industrial type, revolutionary type things that leaders are having to confront today. It's talking to things like COVID-19 and the impact that COVID has had. It's talking about the technological changes. It's talking about how do you lead in a society where values are so evolving in so many different ways, and there's so many challenges that our leaders having to grapple with. So that's what the VUCA world is all about.
Awesome. And how has that gone? How's it going? And what are you learning from it?
Okay, so firstly, the idea around VUCA, it started having had these conversations with a number of different leaders. So since 2021, actually, this idea is kind of been boiling under the surface because a lot of my colleagues and friends and people in the areas that I come out from were talking about the exact things that VUCA speaks to. They were talking about their personal lives and the challenges that they were having with their families and so on, and then having to deal with tribes in their organizations who were equally dealing with personal issues, but then having to lead them in a professional way and still maintain the results that the organization was asking them to achieve. And I was looking for a way in which we could bridge the gap between what the organizations were trying to do, but also to create an environment or a group which was a safe space for leaders to share feelings which they wouldn't normally be able to speak to in the organization itself. And so that was what motivated the group. So the group is a virtual group, and it's been running now for about 4 months or so. And yeah, it's so far so good. We've got 16 members that are on the group, but just to Jean's point as well, we've got about 8 people that are regularly joining us. Different members of the group join us at different times. Load shedding has also played its part, but because it's a virtual group, it's a group that attracts members from around the country. And so it's really been an amazing experience. The group members that we've got represent a diverse amount of sectors, industries, and they are all leaders in their own right. And obviously the challenges are very dynamic. But what's been interesting to observe coming out of all of this is just how much there are similarities between the challenges that we face and how we are choosing to lead through that. So the group is really, it's almost like a forum in a way, because we are sharing from our experiences and everybody is learning about how best to deal with these dynamic changes that we're having to face.
And that was in fact my next question, Lance, to say, how do you see the synergies between VUCA and Leader Impact, and what cross-pollination do you actually see into the future? Are there any sort of plans to have that integrated sort of interaction?
Yeah, that's quite an interesting question. So we're talking about our personal, professional, and spiritual lives when we talk about Leader Impact. And to a large extent, I think what the group is finding is that the confluence, if you want to call it that, of all 3 of those in one group discussion is something that is rare. You don't always find that, when you're in the organization. And Jessica actually touched on it in her past corporate experiences where, even when you are a Christian, you don't want to bring out those particular values within the organization, because right now that's not quite the right thing to do. Whereas when you in a group like Leader Impact, you do have the opportunity to discuss those principles and concepts. And interestingly enough, we don't limit our group to just only Christians. We've opened it up to all religious groups, and that's going to obviously create a nice dynamic in terms of how we approach some of the conversations that we're having.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll visit VUCA soon.
Thank you. Thank you
so much, Lance.
Pleasure.
We're moving along now to Patrick. Patrick, you are next. Patrick is the incoming city chair for Cape Town City. So God is doing a new thing in Patrick's life as well. And we are here to just hear how things are going with you, Patrick, and share with us, please, your vision for the city team. I know Jeff and Kaz were a part of it, and you also are one of those that has got to be unleashed into it all. So tell us more about that, Patrick. Good evening.
Good evening, Nomfundo. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I speak for the team, first of all. We've had one meeting as a team where we've gathered. And our objective there really was, and very intentionally, was to discern God's vision for Cape Town. We ultimately realized we cannot do it on our own. We absolutely need God's guidance and God's strength to realize his vision for Cape Town. We concede that none of us are properly equipped. We feel like Moses, we feel like Jonah, we feel like many of the other stories within our scriptures where God called people who felt very unequipped to do what he was asking. We feel that, but we also recognize that with faith we will be able to do it, and God will equip us at the right time when we need it. So that was very much a sentiment that came out of our first meeting. Why am I involved? If that's part of the question. I've known Jeff for a while. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I've known Jeff for a while. We're also in the same life group together, but for me, my journey started with Global Leadership Summit material, which we very often use in Leader Impact. But I think a big turning point for me was he gave me a book called Thank God It's Monday by an author called Mark Green. And it really struck a chord around workplace ministry and how there's such an incredible opportunity for us to bring about the change that we so desperately need within the globe, actually. We are bereft as humanity with poor leadership, and we need good leaders. We really need good leaders. Jessica spoke to the challenges she faced in her environment, where we are challenged to, and our values are questioned. And strong, good leadership is absolutely required for organizations, for community groups, for all of us, in order for humanity to serve God properly. So there does seem to me, I get this vision, if you like, of fallow fields that have not been tilled, for fields that need to be worked and need to be harvested. And there's a wonderful opportunity for us to do that. A big responsibility too, but a wonderful opportunity.
Sure, and I agree with you. It is a big responsibility. And so perhaps you can share with us, in your first meeting, what were some of the sort of, discomforts or the fears that seemed to crop up that we could also pray together with you on?
Thank you. So many of us are involved in we've come from smaller groups where we served within our own corporate environments. We have a wonderful team some of them come from large organizations such as Telkom and BCX. Jean mentioned Stefan earlier, so Stefan Steffens is part of the team. We've got a wonderful group of people from Old Mutual. I work for Spur Corporation, and then there's some individuals who are involved in really small corporations now. But each of us have been focused almost inwardly, if you like, around those groups. But now that we've stepped up onto this team, it's like, how do we lift our eyes above that group? And how do we take that forward? So we recognize our shortcomings in that, if you like, we've been a little inwardly focused around those groups, and we need to be led in this grander vision. Each of us shared why we were there. Each of us felt a calling to be on the city team, and we've vowed to offer one another support through that process, but also hold one another to account as to why God called us there. So we've agreed to do that as a team. And then we closed out the first meeting where we're contemplating what is it that Cape Town's leadership needs. And we're going to do that through the existing contacts and relationships that we have. And then we will seek to put meetings and forums together that serve those needs and start to build the Cape Town community through those meetings. So yeah, prayer and support from the national team, from this community, would be fantastic as we embark on this new journey.
Awesome. We'll definitely pray for your outward-looking vision as a team. And you've got the right formula. The teachability really is ministering already in how you're approaching this. And I love that you are just taking it back to God and asking him to help you discern about what that territory specifically means, because we don't know as much as he does. Thank you so much, Patrick, and all of the best.
Thank you,
to the towards the end of the program, and it is quite important for us, just as an organization, to know what it is we look forward to for 2023. We have our vision of our own as Leader Impact. So just jot down these dates as I mentioned them and diarize them, and make sure that this is the year where you are not missing even one of them. We have an online forum on Monday, the 13th of February, starting at 7 p.m. And we we'll really just like everybody signs up for that. In-person forums will also be starting, as I said, the first one being the Monday the 13th. Groups are also starting. There's a 1 p.m. group starting in Newlands on the 7th of February. Venture groups are on, and plenty of them are also starting all around. So if you want to join a venture group, have the same experience that Daniela had, you are most welcome to inquire from us which groups are currently running. There is also a global summit in November. I attended this past year, and it was really, really enriching. I want to also just invite Chris now to tell us about some exciting things that are going to be happening in Mauritius during a mission that will be taking place between the 17th to the 21st of May. Chris, it's my first time seeing you, your face this year.
I'm in the dark here.
We can still see you. Please enlighten us more about the Mauritius mission.
Yeah, I think we would like to, part of getting vision for ministry and using your platform for the Lord as marketplace leaders, is helping people in other countries to catch the same vision and the exciting things you are part of. And so we'd like to help the Mauritian ministry to get Leader Impact going in Mauritius. There's a lot of South Africans that are working there, and you might have some contacts of some Christians that are there. So we'd like to mobilize them and to get involved with Leader Impact in Mauritius, but then also go. So that'll happen before the times we get some Zoom meetings going where we can actually envision some of the people that you might know. So it'd be great if you can put us in contact with those people, if they're Christians, to kind of give them vision and to maybe get even a venture going before we go to Mauritius. And then from 17 to 21, we would like to go and maybe do some physical face-to-face forums in companies, cast more vision for other Christians that are there. And so, yeah, just see what the Lord's going to do. So it's going to be an exciting trip, leaving Wednesday, 17 May, and then returning on Sunday, 21 May. So it's exciting. If you're interested, please contact me. Because obviously we need to raise some funds to go, so the budgets and all those things, and see how many people are going, make sure we get accommodation, and also, of course, if you are going and you can take holiday or take your spouse with you, it's a good time to do that as well. So sometimes our time is limited as business people, so sometimes we need to double up on some things we're doing. So might be if you want to stay longer or even go earlier, and you can take holiday, then do that as well, but that'll be the mission time.
All right, thank you so much. Sounds really, really amazing. Chris, we are about to move into breakouts, ladies and gentlemen. You've listened, and now it is time to interact. But before we do that, please note that we do have very informative resources which are on the different sites. Leaderimpact.com and Leader Hub is available. These will also be shared on the chat. Leaderimpact.com is quite a good place for general information on Leader Impact if you want to know more about, again, the vision of Leader Impact. And we also have quite plenty of YouTube links that also encompass some of our previous forum speakers, guest speakers that we've had, and quite inspiring interviews that are on there. And now, as we move to our breakout rooms, we are going to have about 5 breakout rooms or groups rather. There'll be a group led by Lance, which is group 1. Then there's a new workplace initiative group, a city teams group, which is group 3. If you want to know more about venture, Melanie and Daniela will be leading that as part of group 4. And then group 5 will be the Summit and Mauritius Mission group. So it is going to come up now on the screen, and you can then select the group that you are wanting to go to for the breakout. Just click the breakout room logo at the bottom of your screen and enter a breakout room. And we will be resuming back here in a few minutes at 8:15 just to end the session. Thank you.